ready to go.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the IT Desk. This is our tech news podcast here at LyteByte Studios. This is episode 5, I think.
Maybe.
All right. So, do we have anything to talk about here at the beginning before we jump into the news?
Oh, plenty to
All
talk
right.
about.
Anyway, after that crazy intro, yeah. So we just released the For Honor video by Aaron, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, For Honor's a good game.
Yes.
Free beta until Sunday. Download
Yes.
it if you haven't.
Yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out because it's a lot of fun. Definitely some fun to play with some friends too.
Yeah.
We also have the Minecraft Hardcore Survival Duo. That is still a thing. You guys are still both live, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, that's still going on as well. And the gaming
Who knows what
podcast.
kind of crazy stuff we'll have to talk about tomorrow on the gaming podcast.
Yeah, I don't even think everybody else knows what they're going to talk about on the gaming podcast. Or do you?
We don't even know.
Oh, right. I assumed correctly then. Anyway, shall we jump into that news? Joe?
Yeah.
Should we jump into the news?
I like the news. Please.
Okay.
Talk for an hour because you have a lot to say.
All right. So I will preemptively say this first topic is very big. It's all about the Windows 10 Creator Update, and I kind of went overboard when I was making notes Monday night for this story. To put it in perspective, it is a solid 2 pages of bullets. Anyway, so the Windows 10 Creator Update is the newest update coming from Microsoft for Windows 10 here, because as Microsoft had stated when Windows 10 was released, this will probably be the last version of Windows. So this update brings a lot of well-needed features to Windows 10, streamlines a lot of new stuff, and adds a lot of new tools and features for creators, as the name implies. So fun fact, actually, this the name of this update is Redstone 2. Redstone 1 was the anniversary update, I believe. Exciting. And so the first thing is 3D content is becoming a big thing in Windows. So there's going to be an upgrade to the Paint program, good old MS Paint. So we can now paint in 3D.
Paint.
Yeah, everybody loves Paint. It's the best thing to do back in elementary school. So yeah, you can use Paint now to make 3D objects. You can share them with other people on inside of the Paint application. You can also scan objects with a smartphone. No word if it's going to be coming to Android and iOS yet, but it was shown in the videos and stuff and at conventions on Windows phones. So we'll have to see, how it'll work out there. Because Windows Phone is a pretty small platform, not a whole lot of them out there. But yeah. Also, PowerPoint now supports 3D models and animations, and Microsoft Word and Excel will be updated later this year to support that. Edge now supports 3D content, and you can also have the ability to print your 3D objects to a 3D printer. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So definitely it'll make 3D modeling a lot more easier, for people who are wanting to get into that and stuff, because really programs like Autodesk Maya and stuff are super expensive, and Blender is pretty intimidating despite being free. So I think it'd be pretty cool. And next is Microsoft pursuing mixed reality, which is mixed reality is basically virtual reality, and then like the Vive and the Oculus Rift, and then you have the HoloLens, which is augmented reality, AR. So Microsoft is working to implement VR and AR in mixed reality, as they're calling it, into Windows 10. So there's not a whole lot that was really talked about with this, and mainly I think that's because Microsoft themselves don't really know how to kind of incorporate AR yet. But what we do know is you'll be able to create a custom space in VR where you can decorate it with 3D objects and furniture. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Imagine um, like a game like Second Life or something like that. One of those kind of
Yeah.
games, but like in VR. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
and I've seen in like VR that like if you watch a movie, you can like have it so you're like in a theater or something, so you could do stuff like that using that, or
Yeah, kind
yeah,
of use
like
it. Okay.
you could design whatever room you want to be in, and then just like chill and watch like a movie on a huge screen or something in there.
Yeah, that'd be
That
pretty
sounds cool.
cool. I mean, how useful is it? Probably not, but I mean, definitely pretty interesting to try out. But
Yeah.
the biggest thing that is coming out with Microsoft's focus on mixed reality is they're working with companies such as HP, Lenovo, Dell, Acer, and Asus to produce mainstream mixed reality headsets starting at $299, which is incredible compared to things like the HoloLens, which is 3,000, and the Vive, which is 800, 900, and the Rift, which I think is in the $500 range, depending on your accessories. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about these headsets is they don't require any extra hardware, because with the Oculus you have to have a little sensor on top of your computer monitor, and with the Vive you have to have the light boxes kind of in corners of your room.
Yeah.
So yeah, with these they don't need any of that actually. They're just completely independent and contained in the headset, which is really interesting. And what's crazy about these is, everyone always says, "Oh, you got to have a VR ready system. Have like a really powerful computer."
Yeah.
Well, with this, you really don't. You can run these VR headsets with the minimum requirements being 8 gigs of RAM and a mobile Intel i5, particularly like the KB Lake ones, the latest edition. But still, I mean, so that's a pretty, you know, low cost laptop could really run one of these VR headsets. Then how
Yeah.
good the experience will be is pretty debatable, but it should be interesting. Any thoughts on VR and stuff here? With this?
I mean, I haven't used VR at all, but I mean, I've heard that certain things, if they do it right, is good, and moving like to do cool stuff like just kind of designing your own movie theater and being in it. That just sounds like it's not practical, not really useful, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
definitely. So I've as well have not tried VR. I do know there is a Microsoft store over in Kenwood, Ohio, and over at the mall, and so I know
Mhm.
I think Ethan actually had went over there and had tried it out. He said it was really cool. They had a Vive on display.
Nice.
So yeah. So now we get into some more things. I'm going to skip the next one and we'll come back to it because it's kind of boring. But gaming, that's the next
Oh,
big
I love
update.
gaming.
Yes. So there's a lot of rumors about the game mode thing coming in here, but it's probably going to be left out of this update and won't be in until another one later this year. But basically, what the game mode was it would be a switch you could flip, and it would kind of tune Windows to prioritize the game itself running, and kind of tone down a lot of background processes and such. So,
Yeah.
but there hasn't really been a lot documented about it, and it's really only known because there's been some loose code floating around in the Windows Insider versions. So we don't really know yet. But what we do know is, to quote Microsoft, it is the best platform for game broadcasting and for 4K gaming. Which, if you think about it, it's kind of the only platform that does that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, consoles are getting there, but currently, yeah, that's pretty true. So there's some updates to the game DVR feature. That bar that always comes up when you start a game, which I think 90% of people tend to disable. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, I was talking earlier with Andrew, and like CS:GO, like specifically recommends that you disable it because it hinders
Yeah.
performance. So, yeah, hopefully Microsoft can work that out. But they plan to update that, and it will now support live streaming, specifically to Beam, which is a live streaming service that was recently purchased by Microsoft. There probably will not be any support for YouTube or Twitch. We don't really know quite about that yet, but it's not been mentioned. It's a little disappointing. And
How does
games,
Beam compare?
I really don't know. I've never heard of it until I heard about this.
So that's potentially worrying, but
Yeah, that was my first thought, but I mean, it may work, if enough people start using it, I'd say. But I mean, it's the same thing with VidMe, really. Once more people start using it, it'll gain more of a following.
yeah.
And some other interesting things that are also kind of questionable is games downloaded from the Windows Store now contain bundled graphics drivers, which is interesting because graphics drivers aren't really that big of an issue if because they kind of automatically update through NVIDIA and AMD. So interesting. The game bar also supports 19 more games now, such as Fallout 4, Overwatch, Dark Souls 3, and Terraria. And HDR, high dynamic range, we mentioned that last week. I kind of described that a little bit. It now is
Yeah.
built into Windows 10 as well. So,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, it's not Microsoft can't really do a whole lot to improve the gaming experience on Windows because that's pretty much dependent on the games and your hardware. But I mean, what they're doing
Yeah.
is pretty interesting.
But at the same time, they don't have to do much because already, if you're on PC, you pretty much have to play Windows. I
Yeah,
mean, you can use Mac and Linux, but your choices and abilities are slightly
yeah. Like,
limited.
I mean, on a Mac, it's hardware is not an issue on a Mac usually. Usually, kind of, but it's more of like getting the
It's
software to run.
compatibility.
Yeah, and because drivers on Macs are not a thing for like 90% of graphics cards, so that kind of is an issue if you want to get good graphics on Macs. And then Linux is just more of an issue of actually getting things to run because most things are only written for Windows and Mac. Not a lot of things are written for Linux right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it should be interesting with all these cool new features coming in. So now we get into some little less interesting stuff, but definitely big improvements to Windows itself. So the contacts, or actually not the contacts, the People app inside of Windows 10, it will be replaced with the Windows My People. And so it's a new contact manager application, and it works with a new streamlined share feature in Windows. So you can share from pretty much any application and share to your contacts, whether it's through the integrated mail application, Skype, Xbox Live, or even SMS, which we'll get to more things about text messaging later in Windows, later on the
Yeah.
podcast here, which is a pretty cool feature that I'm actually excited about. But also, what's cool is your contacts now appear in little bubbles on the taskbar, kind of how your
Bubble.
apps do. What was that?
Bubble.
Bubble. Yep. So they're down there now, and you can kind of click on them and then bring up a conversation with them real conveniently. It's kind of similar to how Google Hangouts works on Chromebooks and stuff. If you ever use that, but because I know we do it at school. I don't know if you've ever used. Have you ever used a Chromebook, Joe?
I have not. No.
You are missing out.
Yeah. No.
It's
My middle school, like a year or two after I left, they're like, "Let's get Chromebooks." I'm just like, that would have been nice. Oh well.
yeah, they're they're not the best, but I mean,
But I mean, it's still cool to have.
yeah. I mean, for one thing, I mean, our school made the big mistake of getting them with only 2 gigs of RAM,
Ugh.
and that's pretty bad because they tend to like freeze and restart if you have more than like 5 tabs open.
Which, for a lot of work, you might need more than that.
Yeah, I typically keep like 8 tabs open on my school Chromebook a day, so it's it's not good. Well, anyway, yeah, so that's the share feature. There's also a new thing called shoulder taps, which is to like, or which is basically animated emojis that kind of pop out of the taskbar. Send them. So that could be a really easy way to annoy your coworkers at work, probably.
Hey, I don't want to go walk over to you and tap you on your shoulder, so I'm gonna shoulder tap you through Windows.
You just see like a poop emoji just kind of fly out of your taskbar.
Just like, I don't need this crap from you, Jamie. Just calm down.
You can just walk over here to my cubicle and talk to me if you need to. Well, now everybody's favorite web browser, Edge, is actually being completely redesigned. Not aesthetically, more behind the scenes, but it's the quote unquote world's fastest browser is now even more faster and such, according to Microsoft. And from now on, Edge will prefer HTML5 content as opposed to Flash, which is good because Flash is pretty outdated nowadays.
Yeah.
And it also now uses the new Web Payment API from Microsoft, which uses the Microsoft Wallet. Unfortunately, websites have to actually implement this on their end first because, okay, Andrew keeps changing things in our document as I'm reading them.
Specifically to fish related, we have Flash turned to fish, and Microsoft Wallet turned into fillet. So at least he's got a theme.
Yeah. So yeah, websites are going to have to implement the Microsoft Wallet or Fillet before we can start using it. Also, you can now display ebook files in the EPUB format or not because. So yeah, you can read ebooks now through Edge, which would be pretty fun. And there's also a lot of other interesting features that I've seen in the screenshots that basically look like they were ripped off from Vivaldi. So that's interesting.
Oh, good old Vivaldi.
Yeah, still rocking Vivaldi over here. It's growing on me. I like it. And
Yeah.
Cortana is also getting new features too. So she can now lock your computer, put it to sleep. I can't see because all of your cursors are covering the document. Volume control, music control. She can integrate now with apps like iHeartRadio and Pandora Radio to control music. She even has a cool full screen mode that works when your computer's locked or asleep. So you can shout like, "Hey Cortana" from across the room and then see what she's saying on the computer in full screen. Kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
More flexible reminders, so you can set them like how you want them to repeat and stuff. She's also now integrated with the setup wizard, and she can walk you through it when you are first setting up Windows. And my phone is very loud. I will turn that down. There's also some new features similar to Apple's continuity, which is actually really cool. So how continuity works is it's basically like you can start typing out like a text message on your iPhone and then open up your Mac, and then what you already typed will be right there, and then you can finish typing it and send the text message. So some things like
Cool.
that. Yeah, some things like that are starting to come into Windows, so you can integrate things like phone notifications and text messages, and different apps will start syncing with Windows. So I'm actually really excited about this because I tried to get it set up a couple days ago right now in Windows, and it really wasn't working. So I'm hoping that it'll fully be implemented in the next version of Windows, because that'd be really cool, just being able to like
Yeah.
send text from the computer and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you use Cortana any? To be honest.
No, I don't use Cortana, and I don't think I've had Edge open for more than a minute or two.
Yeah, I really don't use either of them myself. The only time I use Cortana is when I need to search my computer, and 9 times out of 10 she can't find any files that are on my computer. So, okay, one example, and this has been like shown off a lot. I've seen other people on YouTube talk about this. So, Rufus, it's a little application you download, and it lets you like format flash drives and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, a one file you download and you double click it and it runs. It's not like anything you have to install or set up or anything. So it always gets lost on my system. So I always, go to Cortana and I type in Rufus, Rufus. And then when I hit And before I hit enter, Cortana says, "Oh, did you mean Rufus on the internet? We'll search it on Bing for you," instead of searching my computer for the file. So, yeah,
Yeah.
things like that are annoying about Cortana.
Also, Cortana, can you do it on Google? I don't like Bing. Please.
Yeah. I really don't like how you get the rewards for searching on Bing. It's like trying to entice people to use Bing as their default search engine. But I'm like, wait, how are you rewarding me for searching things? What are you selling to ad agencies to give me these points? So yeah, not a huge fan of that. So some other interesting things here. Windows Update is now less annoying. You can pause updates for 35 days max if you're using any version of Windows other than the Home Edition. You can also disable driver updating if you're on any version other than the Home Edition, because apparently I think people are more inclined to use that in the enterprise state than they are probably in the home use. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you can now set up to 18 hours active hours where Windows won't restart for updates. Previously, you could only set up 10 or 12. So in those 12 hours, Windows wouldn't restart to do updates then. So that's handy. And now we also got privacy. Some new things have came there because Microsoft is showing that they actually care about our privacy. So there's a new thing called the Your Privacy page inside the settings menu, which lets you manage all of Windows' privacy settings. So now we hopefully shouldn't have to download applications that turn off all the privacy settings for us. And there's also no longer an express button when setting up your PC, which is handy. So it'll go ahead and ask you all the privacy settings outright when you first turn on a new PC or something. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And lastly, there's a handful of some other interesting things. So the Ubuntu Bash on Windows now supports Ubuntu 16.4 instead of 14.4, so that's a big upgrade there. Registry Editor has some cool new features like a search menu and things. The control panel, as in the legacy control panel, is now even harder to get to, as Microsoft wants us to use the Metro UI settings menu. Command prompt is being killed off even more, and so now we will have to use PowerShell if we want to do any commands. Hyper-V display scaling, quick VM creation with Hyper-V if you're using some enterprise stuff. Higher DPI, so if you're using something like an Apple 5K monitor or something, your apps will scale better. So yeah, if you got even if you have one of those super those ultra wide monitors, they'll work better too.
Yeah.
Windows Defender is improvements and redesigned. If you're on a Windows Insider build, so one of the pre-release software, instead of a blue screen of death, you'll get a green screen of death now. Interesting. Skype now does SMS forwarding, so that's cool. There's a new blue light filter, which I actually use Flux, which is an old application that kind of adds a brown color to the display, makes it easier on your eyes at night, helps you sleep better. I really enjoy it, so that's kind of cool that they're adding that in. The settings menu has been redesigned again, so for the 18 billionth time. There's a new screenshot hotkey, so I mean the old one wasn't that bad, so I don't know why we needed a new one. Windows won't. Yeah. Do you actually know what the screenshot key is? Because it took me a while to figure this out.
I think it's one of those things that if I ever need it, I go look it up and I'm like, yeah, it's that, but then I never remember afterwards.
Yeah, it's because print screen, just kind of takes a picture and copies it to the clipboard. But if you do Windows print screen, then it divs the display for a sec and then saves it as a picture in your pictures folder. And Andrew just changed Luna to lunch, so I'm thinking Andrew's pretty hungry right now.
You might be hungry for
Anyway.
more content, so let's move on.
All right. So, last few things here. So, Windows won't reinstall pre-installed apps, which is handy. So, if you uninstall the Mail app and all kinds of the other pre-included stuff that nobody uses in Windows 10, it won't automatically reinstall it for you without you knowing. So that's handy.
That's pleasant.
Yeah. The start menu can be customized more now. I don't even remember what the next thing was after Andrew changed it. And oh, theme management. Yeah. So there's a new theme manager for changing like your backgrounds and your icons and your Windows colors and stuff. And the lunar calendar support in the taskbar, which was a calendar application that Microsoft purchased a little while back. So they're integrating that now into Windows. And all of this giant load of stuff is coming out in April of 2017.
We.
Yes. So, yeah, prepare your internets to download this and wait for your computers to crash in the middle of it and inevitably need to be recovered. Because, yeah. Well, also, I would like to point out that that took 25 minutes to get through.
But it was beautiful.
Yep. All right. And on to the next story here. So, Android Wear 2.0 has been released. So, if you're unfamiliar with Android Wear, it is Google's operating system for smartwatches that works in conjunction with Android, and it also works with iOS, interestingly enough, for all the iPhone users out there. So, what it is it's a complete overhaul to the Watch OS, and it also adds a lot of new features too. So there's you can now have the Google Play Store on the device, so you can install apps and stuff. Google Fit has been redesigned to work with a bunch of new sensors, so it can detect when you're doing workouts and stuff. Android Pay now works, so you can make payments through the watch, and a lot of other different improvements and things. Operating system, such as mainly more making the watches more independent from a smartphone. So
Yeah.
this is coming to 17 older watches. However, not all the features will be added due to hardware limitations. For instance, a lot of these 17 older watches won't get the new Google Fit because they don't have the new sensors, and some of them won't get Android Pay because they don't have NFC. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out on those older watches. And interestingly enough, though, we have our first watch that is released on the new Android 2.0,
Ooh.
Android Wear 2.0. And it is the LG Watch Sport and the LG Watch Style. Now, the LG Watch Style is probably the more documented one right now. And so it has some pretty crazy specs for a watch that I never thought I'd be saying. It's got 4 gigs of storage, 768 megabytes of RAM, an Adreno 304 GPU, 802.11b, G, and N Wi-Fi, so that's really good Wi-Fi technology for a watch. Bluetooth
Yeah.
4.1,
Yeah.
GPS, and NFC, which those two I can see for like fitness tracking and payment.
Yeah.
And Bluetooth I can of course see, so you can pair it with a phone. But it has a 1.1 gigahertz quad-core processor by Qualcomm, and it has a 480 by 480 1.38 inch OLED screen, which OLED's really good for watches, because what's cool about OLED is when the display is showing the color black, it actually doesn't even turn on in those areas. So it actually saves a lot of battery and makes the screen look a lot clearer and crisp. So that's just really nice on a watch. And it also has a 330 or a 430 milliamp hour battery, pretty small, and it also has a heart rate sensor. So that's a lot crammed into this watch, and in fact, it is very thick for a watch, like incredibly thick. It also has 3 buttons and a crown similar to like the Apple Watch. And unfortunately, for the price, it's not the best, as it has a pretty mediocre battery. It's also very laggy and sluggish. And you can get all of this at the cost of $349. And what is interesting about the watch is Google actually had a large hand in developing it, similar to how they do the Nexus phones, or used to do the Nexus phones, since they're no longer making those. There's also the Style Watch, which is a lot slimmer and it lacks some of the cool features like LTE, so you can't connect to cellular, like Verizon Wireless or
Yeah.
something. You can't connect NFC to do Android Pay in stores, and you also don't have your GPS to track, like if you go running or jogging, you can't track that, and you don't have the heart
Yeah.
rate sensor either. And that one ends up costing $249. So, what do you think about this, Joe? Do you think
Um.
all of this is necessary in a watch?
See, like I mean, maybe it would be useful, but at the same time, most of the things the watch would do, your phone could do, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing that keeps coming to my mind whenever people talk about, the Apple Watch, Android wears, is the Spy Kids 2, the watch that does everything but tell time. So anytime
Yeah.
people talk about watches, I'm like, it just needs to tell time, and I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
And even then, the phone can do that, so I really don't need a watch.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, to me, there was one company that did smartwatches right, and that was Pebble, because they were like, yeah, it's a watch, but oh yeah, you can connect it to your phone, and you get a text, it'll pop up on the screen, you can read it, you know, things like that. And it was real basic and simple. But unfortunately, they were purchased by Fitbit, were kind of absorbed into their company, and are now dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it seems every other smartphone manufacturer or smartwatch manufacturer is kind of taking this whole "let's cram an entire phone onto your wrist" mentality. So yeah, but I agree. Like I feel like most of the things like a smartwatch should be like an extension to your phone, not your entire phone. So who knows? Maybe in a couple years or so, like we'll all be ditching our phones and only using smartwatches. But yeah, anything
Yeah.
else you got to add?
Um, no. I mean, I actually I did have a friend who had I forget what kind of watch. It's probably some kind of Apple Watch, and like I mean, he never used it. It was just a thing to tell time that could also do a whole bunch of junk he never did. So
Yeah. Well, anyway, so now we move on to some
is
more
it my
news.
turn? Do you want to? Do you
Yes.
want a break? It's my turn.
I know, I've been going for the past 31 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So the first story I have to talk about is the Samsung Note 7, the tragedy that just keeps on giving because one of the factories in China that had been producing a lot of the things like the battery that failed in this phone, it caught on fire.
Yes.
Now, luckily, it was in the waste management side of the factory, not the production side, so nothing really would have been hurt. And besides, Samsung is moving to Japan for a new factory for making all this stuff. But still, the Note 7 just can't catch a break, can it?
No, it cannot.
That's why you don't get a Samsung Note 7, and you
Yeah.
send it back if you still have it.
Yes. Please do that if you own one. Please.
Now, on to some YouTube news. YouTube has released a mobile streaming, so you can you're on your phone and you're like, you know what, my audience needs to see what I'm doing. So you just you can click on the upload video, go to streaming and mobile streaming, and boom, you're live on YouTube. Now, this does have some limitations. You have to have, is it 100,000 or 10,000 subscribers?
I believe it's 10,000.
Yeah. So I mean, you need to be at least fairly yeah, it's 10,000. You need to be fairly established on YouTube to be able to do it. We can't do that yet.
Nope. And neither can I on my channel.
Not even together. But it also released a thing called Super Chat. So this is going to be fun for people to deal with, and hopefully there's some way to monitor it. But what it is that all the people who have way too much money on their hands and they're like watching a stream and they're like, my comment is witty and insightful and needs to be at the top. So they can pay money and they can have it placed at the top. The price varies depending on how long you want it up there, how long the comment is, and like if you want to highlight it with colors. But apparently, according to this article, it was $1 to $500, depending on all
That's
those factors.
that's quite a range.
Yeah, they've YouTube, as far as I'm aware, has not released any details on how this money is like split up, but it's probably going to be like AdSense where they'll get like most or like part of it, and the YouTuber who is doing the streaming will get part of it.
Probably.
But I mean, it's a nice little boost to people if they are streaming, and if you have the money and want to do that, good for you.
Yeah, and it does make the YouTube live streaming platform a bit more enticing too, because I mean, as it stands, Twitch is still kind of dominating the live streaming area.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that though. Twitch is a very nice site.
Yeah, and like just from like comparing the times I've watched Twitch, I don't really notice any huge difference. So I mean,
Yeah, they're both good.
there's that. Yeah. Now, Tesla Motors Inc., the fabulous company owned
In
by
our
Elon Musk.
ever growing uh, trend to cover all stories relating to Elon Musk.
Yes, yeah. So far, this will be the 4 out of 5 of our podcasts. We'll have talked about him or his company.
Yep,
I want to keep this trend going.
let's do it.
But they have taken their name from Tesla Motors Inc. and have changed it to just Tesla Inc., getting rid of the motors because, as it is, they have stepped away. Not stepped away, but they have broadened their horizons and are doing a lot more than just making cars.
Yes,
Like
especially.
they
Go ahead.
go on.
Okay, things
Oh,
such as like the autopilot and stuff like that.
yeah.
What were you
Or
gonna say then?
they purchased Solar City and are working on batteries and stuff, which is connected to their cars, but also outside. So I mean, it's overall it's just a much clearer name. It's not just a motor company; it's a technology company.
Yeah,
And finally, the last story. I have to pose a question to you. Have you ever wanted to go to Venus?
not really.
Oh, I don't want to go either. It's good. It'll kind of kill you in like
Yeah,
no time at all. But we can now send computers there because NASA has been working, and NASA Glenn Research Center has found a way to make computers survive on Venus's surface. Now, as it is, Venus is kind of dangerous. It's
yeah,
470 degrees Celsius or 878 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. Like right now in Florida here, it's probably like 70 or 80 because it's night. It's just way too hot for me.
and you're lucky. It's like it is 42 here.
Yeah, I
It's
have
cold.
been better off. But also, the pressure on it is 90 times the pressure of Earth, like on the surface.
That's a lot.
So, from what I've read, it's like diving down 900 meters into the water and just chilling there without a suit or anything. Or even if you had a suit, you're 90 meters underwater. That's kind of a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
So, before computers couldn't survive, because the heat and stuff would mess with the wires. But they've used new connectors to make everything work, and they've placed it in a machine that simulates the temperature and pressure on Venus. And the computer in the machine was able to last for 21 days.
awesome.
So that's a big improvement from the last man-made thing to survive on Venus for the longest time, which was like an hour and a half. Now, as far as the usefulness of this, I mean, you get new pictures and stuff of Venus and better research there, but also if this could ever go into like consumer hands in a way that say make your computers more resistant to overheating, I guess. I mean, I figure, that kind of stuff would be good for computers overall,
Yeah,
right?
that could be pretty cool.
Prevent batteries from catching on fire in your phone.
That too. Yeah, I mean the possibilities are pretty endless with technology like that.
Yeah. Anything else you have to say?
No, not really. I mean, pretty exciting.
Okay.
Be pretty cool to explore all these other new planets.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the ones that we just can't get to ourselves because we'll die.
Yeah,
I mean, as it is, we can't get to any planets without dying.
that's
But
true.
some of them are a lot more attainable than others. Mars, we'll probably get people there.
Yeah,
Venus, that's just a different story.
yeah. Like closer we go to
But
the sun,
before we leave,
not as likely.
oh,
Go ahead.
yeah. But before we leave, we have a message that we've been told to read by Andrew. Nick, would you like the honors of saying it?
Oh yes, 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 yes. Oh my God! All right. This is the first time I've read this.
Yeah, he wrote this while we were talking.
Yes, and he instructed us to not look at it until the end. All right, so buckle up your buckets and hold on to those 8 slice toasters because we've got some news for you. This just in, something very huge is now in the works. Not like huge, but like pretty big huge. The super secret surprise of magical sugar puff rainbow sparkles is pretty big huge. You thought the 8 slice toaster was cool, but now it's even cooler. Not the toaster, the surprise. The surprise is a lot of dots. Drumroll, please. Oh, okay. I guess Andrew did install the drumroll add-on in OBS. Well, now I guess metamorphic drumroll, please. The one not announcing makes a noise with your mouth. the, su- the super duper magically surprise is going to be announced in a video tomorrow, the 11th of February. That is all. Won't tell you tonight. Well,
So
that
I'm
was
glad. I'm glad you stayed to hear that message.
that was a lot of build-up for that.
Nothing. But I think that ends it for this fabulous edition of the IT Desk.
Yes.
Make sure to watch on VidMe and YouTube and follow us on Twitter and
Make sure
all
you
the other stuff.
join us on Discord and
Yeah, that.
on our group chat. Also, check out our website, LyteByteStudios.com. And yeah, definitely check out our other video series. There'll be a lot of more fun stuff coming in the future.
And come and check out whatever we do tomorrow. That's all super duper secret that required metaphoric drum rolls.
Yes, it will be exciting.
Goodbye, Internet.
Goodbye.